January 16th, 2024, 7:30 a.m. We are officially in business. Okay, we're going to call it to order. We have one missing.
Yes, EDA chair and members of the EDA, we'd like to add a item number between 7 and 8, so we'll call it 7.5, and it's going to be called discussion about legal counsel.
Yeah, okay. Are we going to make a 7.6 for?
That'll come during your. We'll do. That'll be during your. We should probably do that in updates. You want to do an 8.5 here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And what would you like it called?
Retention of. What would you call it?
I'm not sure what you want to.
Broker, official state licensed broker, blah blah.
Let's go retention of commercial licensed broker.
Commercial and residential, because we'll service our each area at that time.
Okay.
So we want to do that. Sales staff, sales.
Yeah, the item will be called 8.5. It'll be called discussion on retention of commercial and residential licensed broker. So 2 items to add, and then we'll need a approval in a second. So.
Understood. Okay, we got approval of agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. All in favor?
No, we get a
second.
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 Oh, okay. We get a second too. Okay, Scott's taking a second. Okay.
All opposed. Motion passes. Consent agenda. Approval of minutes of 2021. I'm sorry, November 21, 2023 EDA meeting. That's where I was remote. I don't know if some of you were there. Did you all get a chance to read your last packet? Okay, and do we have an approval of minutes of the 21st of 23rd?
Motion to approve.
We have an approval.
There's a motion and a second.
I think
I'll
you
second.
Second, and Jim was also the one running that one. You were gone that day.
I was gone. Yeah.
Okay. We have a second. All in favor of?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Open forum. Let me see. How many we got? Okay. Anybody for open forum?
Doesn't look like it.
Nope.
John, just say something so we can have somebody come in.
Good morning.
There you go.
Okay. No one for open forum except for a good morning. Got it.
Is that it?
That was it. Bylaws updates needed per discussion. Number 5.
Yes.
Who wants to run that?
Good morning, EDA chair and members of the EDA. There is one item that is needed that is coming from the City Council. City Council is looking to make a requirement for attendance at the meetings that we have here. So they are looking to say that once you've missed 3 meetings in a year, you will be recommended for removal off of the commission. So it is added to both the Planning Commission and the Parks Commission. Those are both done by ordinance, so those have already been updated. The EDA is not technically in any ordinance related to the city, so it is only done by these bylaws that are amended or that are approved by both EDA and the City Council. So we will need to add an item related to attendance at meetings. There was supposed to be, and I'm trying to remember here, and I'm going to ask Dave and Scott if they remember, is it a 75% retirement?
75%.
So 75% of the meetings that were held on that year, or I thought it was 3.
I think it's 3. It's actually 3.
I think it was a number of meetings of 3 because it was a percentage of, well, maybe you might not make it if we have a meeting at the end of the year or something, so I believe it was.
We had a clause that if the meeting was called off, it was off. It
Correct.
Doesn't count.
Does not count, yeah, correct. So if we don't have a meeting, hence, we'll use an example of December, we did not have a meeting there, that would not count against you because we didn't have a meeting. It would just be absentee. For example, today would be Juan would be absent today for the meeting, as he is not in attendance at an active meeting. So
For 2024.
correct, for 2024, that is correct.
What about if you, like, say when Chair was sick, but he was on remotely?
That counts.
That counts,
as
yep,
being part.
yep. You can make her remotely, that's great, that's fine, no problems at all. We just want you to make sure that, the city council basically says, if you want to be in the commission, we want you here, basically, that's what the city council is looking to do. They don't want just people to sign up for the commission and then never show up, basically, they want you part of the process.
Well, I think have we been having a problem with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times you missed last year? I think you counted up to about 4 and a half,
Yep.
5? So does that mean, what if he's a council member and doesn't show up for EDA meetings?
He would be, we could recommend have another council member
Yeah.
take that position.
Okay.
Has it been a problem with other commissions, or?
Correct. Yep. So it's not specific to EDA by any
Right.
means. It's specific to all. It's all
Yeah,
commission
I was gonna
meetings.
say, I didn't seem like
Yeah, I didn't think we
attendance was too much of an issue here, but,
No, this is not specific to
Yeah.
this commission or any specific commission. We just have, in general, have seen, more non-attendance at commission meetings across the board.
So
I swear we
are you telling us this, are you telling us this because we have to adopt it, or is this
Yeah.
already enabled?
Yeah, it's a part of the
Yes,
council.
so it's required, or the city council said we need to add that. So we added it via ordinance to all of the other commissions, but because EDA is not run by an ordinance, it's run by these bylaws, we have to amend the bylaws to add it. I did not add it in this bylaws, I did not have a chance to do that.
There is something about it in here.
I thought there was.
Are you sure?
Yes, page 3-1A.
Which I thought there was too, so I don't know why we were doubled down. Page 3-1A?
Absence from any 3 meetings in a year.
The president, yeah, I read that.
So you did get it
Oh,
added.
okay, well then.
I thought we had it in from the very beginning.
Unless
I
had it in
think.
from the very beginning. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. That was the discussion we wanted to have and make sure that it'd be recommended for removal. So I'll make sure to say,
Asked and answered already.
yeah, unless
I was gonna
excused
say,
in
we're,
advance by the
tell them
president.
we're proactive, we're ahead of the.
Yeah, so what we'll have to
Good
do
heavens,
is,
Lovey.
we'll have to remove the unless excused in advance by the president, because it's technically not, it doesn't matter if it's excused or not, it's just still an absentee. So we will
Okay.
have to amend that 1A.
Just take out that.
And just take that out and say, and it will be recommended, it's not required that they're gonna be vacant, it's not gonna be like, yep, for sure, you're gone. It's gonna be recommended to council for them to be removed. So I will update and say unless excused in advance by the president, I will change that to say, will be recommended to council for a vacancy. But that is the only thing. Other than that, I'm just looking to make sure we have, just touching base on bylaws, making sure we don't have anything we're missing here.
Is president considered chair?
Yeah, be correct,
Okay.
yep.
I guess if you're amending it, you might as well put
Different word.
calendar year 2 there, just to be clear.
Oh, yeah, well, that calendar year.
I've never heard you called it.
You know, that way you know it's
McNeil calls it
January to
something.
December or whatever.
Sure. Yep.
There you have that.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, right. Okay, so that pretty much solves that one, right?
Yep.
Correct, yep. So we'll have these bylaws will go to the next council meeting and get amended. It'll be just on a consent.
Are there
agenda.
any changes that went into this?
No, this is the same one that was done in 2021, which would have been done, oh boy.
Back 8 years ago?
No, this was amended in
Yeah.
21 for the expansion of more individuals
Yeah.
on the EDA.
Yeah, but that's all we changed in 21 was the count.
That's it. Yep, that's correct.
Other than that, they'd say remained the same since day one.
Yep. correct.
Yep, pretty much.
So like I said, so it was more or less discussion to make sure. I wanted to talk about the 3 I didn't know about 1A. Unfortunately, I haven't read these in full detail all the time, so I don't know them either. But I want to make sure there's nothing else that we needed to touch base on.
And we're still state mandated as per our bylaws.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, all right, I get it. Anybody else got anything to add in there? Want to give yourself a raise, $25 a meeting? Make it $250, $500?
Dave, did you have something?
Well, a couple things, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
And in no particular order, but on page 5, down at the bottom under staff, city administrator, development director / development director, which was your title for a while,
Yep. / finance director.
right?
Yeah.
Or that was Tina's title?
That was
wasn't
Tina's
it?
title,
Yeah,
correct.
so either of those should be separated because John is here, or just take off the development director part of it. I don't know which is correct there.
Yeah, so what we could do is, as staff, we can either write the city administrator of Dayton will be the executive director, basically staff liaison to the EDA, or we can have John take it over. I'm assuming you want to keep it with city administrator unless you have a recommendation, John?
We can flip a coin, so.
It doesn't matter, yeah. It really doesn't matter to me. So
Let's-
how about
Well,
the,
let's let the chair in on this
Yeah,
one here.
chair
We're
and-
going to leave it the way it is
Yeah.
unless we got a problem.
Okay. We'll both be here either way.
Well, let's just say the staff, the city administrator and/or, we'll just do and/or community development director. We'll amend it to say so that both of us can be here, so that we're both here most of the time. But if one of us has to be gone or something, then we at least have somebody here as a staff liaison.
Because we get the information directly from you. No offense, John,
Yep.
but we hear a lot more, because we've plugged in every other one.
And if either one of you miss 3, then we'll talk about it again.
Sounds good.
All right, what else?
We will amend that. We will amend that. Thank you very much.
On page 2, and then number 1 under officers, we got a lot of positions here. I don't know who some of these people are.
Yep.
So are we planning to name these positions, or should we
probably-
take them out?
We probably should either name them or take them out, so I would recommend either one. It's up to the chair and the EDA. I would say that you guys need to have a discussion. But we have not done this historically.
All right, if we're going to start naming names, pointing fingers, then we should probably elect our treasurer.
And president. And president. 'Cause
We already have president.
somewhere in here it also says that those should be appointed annually. And I
Yeah.
didn't mark down where that is, but
Is the president different than
1-year
the chair?
term.
The president is considered the chair of the EDA.
Okay.
That's
I
correct.
asked that question about.
He just did that, right? This guy, the cookie guy. He has cookies.
Yeah.
Although I haven't
I
had
was
one.
as quickly notified that he is the president.
Okay.
It wasn't Jim
Will
the
that
tre-
answer your?
wasn't Jim
this
the
here then?
treasurer?
What do you want to do? We got to pick a treasurer. So if we're going to name names, we should probably have everybody in position first. So we got an open spot for treasurer. Can we do that at this point, Zach?
Yeah, sure. Yep,
Just elect all new officers?
yep.
Okay. That'd be good.
Leaves 2 spots open, but if we keep it business related, we only have 1, and Juan's not here, so that leaves kind of you.
Yeah, there it is. Vice president and treasurer shall be
Me?
appointed to a
You.
1-year term.
Okay.
Yeah, vice president and treasurer, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Well, Vice
And
President,
you're the
treasurer, both?
president, I'm the vice
he's
president.
vice.
Oh, I'm sorry, president, vice president, and treasurer.
Treasurer, yes.
Yeah. Jim was the treasurer, right?
Jim was the treasurer.
That's correct.
So then there'd be, wouldn't you do nominations for president, vice president, and
What number is that?
treasurer?
That's on page 2, number 1,
Which is kind of weird because we only
about the
got
3rd sentence.
almost enough people to fill them. Either that or we get rid
So we
of-
need to step in.
So we need so what we need to have then is a president, vice president, and treasurer. We also, it says the office of the incorporation, which is the EDA, has a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and assistant treasurer. I'm unsure if we want to have all those positions, we can just remove them
Well,
from there.
basically, everybody's got an office.
Well, that's correct. So either we
Sound like
remove
that
them and
council.
we can go back to having just the president, vice president, and treasurer, which is essentially those are the needed positions on a commission. Or we can have all 5 of those positions, whatever is.
I don't think we
I
need
go
5.
down to 3.
We're good enough at 3.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we need 1 more person. I shy away from council being one of these attendants because of the volatility in their chair. So, I mean, it leaves John.
Okay.
Juan?
Do you have a problem?
Or
with
Juan,
that,
yeah.
John?
Juan's not here.
Or do you want?
Juan
That's
is not
usually
here.
when you get elected.
I would switch with him if he wants to be vice
You want a vice?
Do I want to?
Talk to him.
Yes. So yes,
Keep me
I'm
in
the
this
current, you can be the,
we need to
Future, if
appoint
you
a
like.
president, a vice president, and a treasurer. So
we still need a treasurer,
we need a
though.
president, a vice president, treasurer. So we need to know who wants to go for president. We need to have a motion and
We
a
already
second.
know that part.
So who would like to be president of the EDA?
Well, that's going to be Hutner.
Okay, so we need to have a motion and a second.
We're gonna have a coup, aren't we?
Motion.
Second.
Okay,
What do we do?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll vote
Don't
you.
worry about it, it's done.
All right.
It's done.
All right. What do we do?
We voted you president, so.
You're stuck for another year. You're stuck for another year.
okay, so we need to have a vice president. Who would like to be the vice president of the EDA?
Why don't we switch it up? Let Sean do it.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. I'm learning as I go
Look
here.
at Sean's all flush now. Oh my God.
okay,
No.
so I need then a motion and a second.
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
motion it.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
oh
You
boy.
got it.
Oh boy.
Okay, we got a motion by who?
Who wants
Give it to
motion?
Hutner.
Hutner gets the motion, okay.
Give the
Second.
second to Jack.
Jack, okay, Jack Brennan's.
They switched it on this one, huh?
Okay, and treasurer then?
This is technicalities.
Treasurer. I'll motion treasurer for Jack.
That's Jack.
I'm going from vice president to treasurer. Is there another Oh.
Yes, that was it, we're out of
You
guys.
can always do it,
We're out
like
of
I said, one
guys.
is technically available, he's just not here.
You want in?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know what the treasurer does, but
We don't do nothing.
I don't know what the
I
vice
started
president
struggling.
does.
nothing.
You will when I'm gone.
Yeah,
So,
You got to fill in for
Need a
Hunter when
motion
he's
and a
got
second
it.
then for
I'll
Jack.
make a motion that Jack is treasurer.
Okay,
If he wants it,
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll second.
okay,
Wait a minute, council making motions?
yep, yep. The council is technically not a council at this point, they are actually members of the EDA.
Yeah.
So they are EDA
I don't see why
commission
they
members.
couldn't be treasurer or whatever either, but
Their seats changed way too much.
They
We got another
technically
election
can
every
be.
4 in a year.
Like
So, yeah,
every 4 years.
The city council members technically can be.
Yeah, but that's only a
members of
one-year
those
term,
positions,
so-
Officers of the corporation, because they technically are part of the EDA.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
commissioner.
Yeah.
and they're only
You got
one-year
me for another
terms,
3
so
years, that's it.
Okay, are we settled?
That's it.
we're
yeah.
settled, but
Anything, yeah, anything else?
Did that
I know
work for you,
Dave
or you
had
got everything?
made-
Yeah,
made-
well, since Amy doesn't attend these meetings, should we
I just
take
want to note that
her
I've
office?
held every
City, I mean,
officer
city clerk
position on the
office, the
commission.
secretary.
so-
Yeah, I'll
Except
take
for
that as city
secretary,
administrator.
which we've eliminated.
I think that's as much of a mess as I needed to make on that.
Okay,
And everybody's getting their $25.
correct.
You want a raise?
Well, of course I do, but.
What do you want? Scott, can we go for a raise?
That's a
Well,
dumb
just-
question.
Scott, we're going for a raise, what do you want?
I didn't know I was getting anything.
You didn't know you were getting anything.
You do.
Well, this is the time to do it. If you guys expected more runaround time, fuel burn up, supplies, 300-page printouts for your printer.
Well, I think that's separate. I think the $25 is for coming to the meeting. You should be able to, if you've got other expenses, mileage and stuff,
Yeah,
you
then you
should be
just
able to
bring it in.
submit for that.
You mean we can do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, commissioners and officers shall be entitled to reimbursement for reasonable travel and related expenses
Yeah.
to perform the duties of being on the D meeting.
Then I bought a Corvette. It's waiting in
60
Suburban
for me, yeah.
Chev for me now. So
Okay.
can we get, who's treasurer? Hey, hey,
Jack.
Jack, you sign that one for me? Okay, well, that makes sense then. We're all
Now we
good.
gotta put you back in get some money again. You bought it for that.
Okay, yep, anything else other than the items?
Well, not a change, but I did notice that we're supposed to be producing a budget by August 1st every year, and you must do that yourself.
Yep.
But it seems like something the committee ought to have in
I would
its
agree.
realm.
The budget has never been established, there has never been an expense budget, there's just always been a tax levy budget, which is the item that we, of mention there.
Right.
But we have
Yeah.
not done that, I
But
would
it's-
say probably last year.
To me, it's sort of like one drives the other. I mean, we should, as a committee, we should be establishing what do we need the next year, and then that's what we put forward to the council to levy for.
Correct, yep, so this year we'll have to make sure we're more on top of that, I would agree. I will say that I took full responsibility for being lax on that position, and I have not created a budget at all.
Blame it on the new guy.
Nope, that's fine, I will take full responsibility, that was all on me. So, but I have not created a
John.
budget, there has never been a budget created for the EDA,
I said blame it on the new guy.
sure, but I agree, good, valid point, thank you very much.
Yeah, that cleared that then?
Yeah, well, that's not a change. We just need to be doing it.
Okay. Well, that's a U2 thing, right?
Yep. Well, it'll be the whole
Yeah,
EDA.
that's fine. I mean, one year we did have a budget.
I thought we did too.
Can't remember, maybe it was the year before last.
McNeil,
It was small. I mean, it was like,
We didn't have nothing.
yeah.
Did we get a tax levy this year as EDA?
You did not.
No.
Zero tax levy.
They took it away from you.
That's why you're not treasurer. All right then.
These are comments, questions on the amendment to the bylaws?
I'm good.
Okay. If there is, then I'd say a motion in a second, please, for all those changes mentioned.
Everybody agree with this? We need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We have,
Second.
Give it to Sean.
okay.
Sean?
He's been trying to get a second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All opposed? Motion passes.
Hearing none? Yep.
That was number 5, bylaws, right?
Yep.
Number 6, Jim, when I was on my remote, had a conversation about a spur. A spur is a railroad track that comes into this city that we have, 3 miles of spur, or of railroad-ish?
Yeah, maybe 3 miles total, connection to probably, actually access to it, probably about 1.5 miles.
Now, Jim tried diligently in the past to make this happen with the railroad company, but they don't probably listen to people that have a business versus a city. It is my intention to get a hold of these guys and say, look, Jim said it's probably not as useful now, but I'm thinking about this more and more, and you get 1.5 million and 1 million square cubes over there of that kind of storage, a Spur makes perfect sense to me. Because you can transmit stuff, you can carry stuff cross country for pennies on the pound, and we have places to store it. So these companies who aren't yet filled in the cubes and massive buildings are now going to have a spot to have a rail access to it. And that's huge for our business. I think it's a huge thing. So I would like to address this group today and say, maybe we should ask some questions. Maybe as a city we should reach out. Maybe as an EDA, we should say this is a development process in which we can get some of this to go to next level, if at all. And I wanted your guys' input on this. That's why I wanted to make sure you knew what that meant. And in Jim's official last meeting, he says it's not for him anymore, but it would have been huge for him in the time. But Jim's not our only company in Dayton. So putting stuff together makes a lot of sense, especially with that kind of cubes.
So you're saying you have access to the Spur from any company that wants it?
Well, that's what a Spur is. It's a
I
depot.
understand that, but you're not going to. I don't believe you're going to take that Spur and put it on the other side of the road.
Not at all. Not at all. We'll maintain where it is. It wouldn't make sense to do that. You would have minimal trucking fees involved across the road, but when you're talking 0.5 mile versus 300 miles or 3,000 miles, RDO is a big company that uses rail. Anything with big equipment uses rail. Mm-hmm. So if they come in on that, and they can be more competitive in the market, the RDOs and the Caterpillars, or the what's ever going to be in the cubes, or they've got blah. I mean, we don't even know what's going to be in there yet. But as a development point, it makes a lot of sense to say, hey, we have this in our city. You can't do that in Champlin. They don't have a railway. Crystal does have one, but because it's all residential, it means nothing. This is literally in the proper spot at the proper time. And I would say our Jupiter and Marge line up pretty good. And if we ask as a city to be an SF or whoever is in charge of that, can we access that? Can we use it? Can they build it, and then the community, including Rogers on that side, would have access to a Spur?
Yeah.
I think it's worth exploring.
I think
Just a
it's
conversation.
worth having the information about it, just in case somebody asks.
Yeah, EDA chair, members of the EDA, John did reach out, so.
Yeah, so we can have a railroad spur. It's just a question of who pays for it. So it'd be the developer or it'd be the EDA or city.
It's loading ramps. Is there going to be buildings involved?
It depends on who's building it. So either it's us that's buying the property and we're serving as the developer, or it's a private developer that's doing it.
All right. Does this?
Personally, you're going to have the company that's using it pay for it.
What's that?
You're going to have to me, you're going to have the company that's using it pay for it.
Oh, there's certainly charges when you start using that access point.
Yeah.
Did you call BNSF, or who did you call?
Yeah, BNSF.
And what was their flavor? What did they taste?
This would be a great location. There's a shortage of industrial property. Well, there's a shortage of industrial property, and there's a bigger shortage of industrial property that has railroad spurs. It's Cretex. What's the concrete company?
Semstone.
Semstone does have land for railroad spur. They don't have the spur itself. I don't know why.
Did you reach out to them too and ask why?
No.
Would that be a hard thing to do, is reach out and ask them, if you could get your product shipped in by rail, would that be a thing?
Yeah, it could. So, I mean, kind of similarly for King Solution, I mean, I want to assume that King Solution would use that same railroad spur if they had access to it. So I don't know the reason of why that didn't work.
Jim said they couldn't get him to put one in.
Okay.
You couldn't get Burlington to put it in?
They wouldn't, BNS wouldn't let him put it in. And at that point, I would imagine King Solutions would have the money to finance that.
I don't know, but
Because they tried.
the only place to put it is right next to Semstones.
That's where it would go?
Yeah.
For all the companies, whether, what side of the road you're on?
Does Semstone own the property?
Yes.
So it's their call.
Yep.
And/or if anybody wants to buy the land from Semstone
Semstone.
to put the said spur in. But we did make a call. Like I said, we tried to get a little more ahead of this. And staff and John did a great job reaching out to BNSF just to see if it's even possible. 'Cause knowing the discussions happening today at the EDA is important.
So A, it is possible.
Yes.
B, BNSF says it's a good spot. But C, we got to get over hurdle of Semstone's ownership or licensing of access.
Well, and if the city's going to own it, don't you want to?
So you want to
I don't know.
What were you going to say?
Well, I'm going to say there's other properties that could have a railroad spur. I mean, we have, everything that's along the railroad spur through Dayton is a possibility. That's not to say that those owners want to have a railroad spur or have an interest in it.
Well, the old co-op up there is right on the tracks, and there's a lot of land right around that.
Odessa is probably the main one.
Yeah.
That is the largest access point to the railway.
The co-op?
And else, yeah.
Oh,
whatever.
Odessa.
Auto auction.
Auto auction.
Auto auction.
He's talking about the auto auction, but then the co-op's the next one up.
Yep,
Co-op.
correct.
Right on the corner.
Between those two, they have the
It's
largest
close.
amount of access to the railway. Also, you can't have it too close to either roadways, because then you have to be able to merge the, traffic back on, or the railway back onto the railroad track, but
What do we own on that railroad?
just the tax forfeiture,
Yeah.
property, that's it.
The one right on the road.
The big
there.
triangle?
Right, yep.
Yep, the one down the interchange, that touches the railway.
The one they were talking about using for a parking lot or.
Yep, that's correct.
For the burn center? The burn station? Not the one with
I
the...
mean,
Training
the
center.
tax forfeiture property hasn't been established. The current designation on the books is a parking lot for public.
Will the railroad
public
spur be
transportation.
public use under that designation?
No, 'cause the rail is not public.
Correct.
Okay. I was just
What about
kinda curious.
reaching out to King Solutions and MTL? I remember they're building their new facility over there. Do they have an interest in, those are the two big ones that are gonna be there.
Well, I would think the...
The cubes,
The Cube's building,
whoever that ends up
maybe,
being might
depending.
have a use for it.
Yeah. Well, reach out to them
Graco
too.
would be our bigger one. Those guys are still positioning themselves to put themselves together over there. And right now, all they've got is security teams running the building and assembly points. So they're not set up yet.
They are not fully, I mean,
Yeah.
they're up and running like. as
They're
a
manufacturing.
business, but manufacturing
Minimal.
stuff, but
They're starting.
the distribution facility won't be established until, the last time I talked to them was October this year. So the distribution facility will be up and running, and there'll be actual, like, full truck traffic and stuff starting in October of this year. I mean, they'll be this year in the summer, moving everything
Yeah.
over there.
They're
But
still moving in.
yeah, the distribution facility is not up and running yet.
Well, it is, it's just not in Dayton.
Correct, it's in Rogers currently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, they're moving out of that building.
Their lease ends in October.
Yeah.
Well, somebody approached them and says, hey, you got access to a spur, what do you want to do? Especially if it's on the triangle.
Yeah, the triangle is not large enough to hold a spur. Like it could be utilized, part of it could be utilized for the spur, but it's not large enough to,
It'd be everything between Dayton Parkway and Brockton,
yeah,
so about 80-some acres.
correct.
So still a Semstone in position on this.
Yeah, I mean, they could build a railroad spur tomorrow if they wanted to.
They privately. But you're talking about almost like a community spur that's being used by multiple companies, right?
That's what it's sounding like.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
How would you access this spur? Would it be through Semstone property?
Yeah, well, because it's on Semstone property to begin with.
The backside of theirs?
All of it is on Semstone's property.
It wouldn't be a very large spur. It would probably be just a one track off and on. It wouldn't be a.
But still, we'd have that access.
Yep, it wouldn't. Like I said, just wouldn't be very large, but it would.
How do we ask that question of Semstone?
I can just ask. I guess the question, I mean, to me, is what also is involved with getting products on and off. So, assuming that whether this is railroad cars or trailers or whatnot, there's going to be a lot of land involved. Is that what the EDA would like to be in that area? So essentially, it's going to be more asphalt and outdoor storage versus buildings.
It'll definitely be more of an industrial kind of site.
Well, and let's say Semstone in the future decides not to want to be in business anymore and they want to pull the pin, and I mean, we got an opportunity there too. So not every business is forever. So do we want to ask Mr. Sedvald, did I pronounce that right? Seavald, to reach out to Semstone and ask questions? As a
Well, I think that's good. I think we should try to establish what our vision is. Is this
Right.
For multiple users? Or are we asking Semstone, do they want to go ahead with it? My guess is the answer is probably no, or they would have.
Or they would have by now.
Right,
Yeah.
but if this is something intended to be used by businesses in the neighborhood, then it's more of a public kind of facility.
And it's a generator.
And
Creates cash.
Right. Well, does it? If there's interest in it, if Graco and future Cubes tenant and MTL and RDO and CAT or Ziegler, whoever is the potential users in the area, I think we need to poll them and gauge what their level of interest is.
Yeah.
Because we're going to come back and ask them for money to build this thing ultimately. But is it one player or is it half a dozen? I think we should figure that out. And part of it, and the only way we get there is to ask them.
Right.
Then-
Before the
then
horse
if
there.
Then if there is interest from those guys saying, yeah, boy, we could really use something like that, and that would be an asset to our business and potentially future businesses, which is the business we should be in,
Yep.
right? Then we go the next step. Then where does it go, and what does that mean? Do we have to acquire land? Do we, where do we go from there? But I think the first question is to the businesses that are in the area already, what's their level of interest in us pursuing this?
But we still need to talk Semstone.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
as far as the land, maybe Semstone gives up an easement or something to a,
Well, let's see if they're interested first.
right.
And then we'll cross that bridge.
Yeah.
But if that makes sense, do we have to have an action on this?
No,
No,
we just need direction. That's it.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
is,
correct.
and I'm thinking there's more involvement. It's not just Semstone, it's all the property owners that are along the railroad. If they have an interest in pursuing this, then what that interest is, assuming that, yes, there is interest, because it's clear that the EDA is, we can bring probably someone from Stantec who designs railroad yards that can explain what's involved with it. So, it's easy to say, we're going to give all businesses access to Semstone's property. It's probably not realistic.
Right.
But a larger yard maybe, but then it's a question of, okay, if Odessa went away and it just became a railroad yard, do we want 80 acres of asphalt there, or do we want another, something else?
Right.
So you
there's
do this
bigger
planning
questions.
stuff for a living, right?
I'm sorry?
You do this planning stuff for a living.
Yes, but not for railroads.
Okay. Is this making sense, or is this just
Yeah,
a pipe dream?
No, it does. Well, everything's a pipe dream until you can figure out how to make it real, so.
I see it as a business point of view. If I had to get some large amounts of products in and out of this city, that's the only way I would do it. Especially if you're talking about the fuel prices and costs. And you heard Jim on the last meeting. He says it's pennies on the dollar versus dollars on the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And what more would you want a big company to come in and say, hey, we got a Spur.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
You kind of wonder why Rogers and some of the others haven't done it. I mean, they've got the same rail access.
Yep.
Well, let's beat Rogers at the game this time, huh? They always seem to be in front of us on everything.
Well, it comes down to who's willing to pay to use it.
Right.
Well, that's the
Place
thing.
That's where
It's
it's
gonna
gonna
be an
come.
operating expense.
Yeah.
And all those businesses,
Almost have
maybe,
to have
I don't wanna say a study of some sort, but some sort of survey of these businesses. Would you use this for minimal cost?
Yeah.
Because
You'd
there's
almost
gonna be a
have to have
cost
a-
involved to unload a rail car or take a container off. Someone has to pay that. So,
You're talking about running the Spur as a company. And then
Right.
they
Yeah,
sub it
you'd
out to the
almost have
things.
to have it as a company, I would
Yeah.
think.
I mean, it needs to generate money to pay for it, even if it were city-owned. There
City ain't
still
gonna own
is
this.
usually some sort of,
There's no way the city's going to own this.
No.
We have no means to manage this.
well, then someone definitely needs to make
You have
money
to have a private
to keep this
entity.
place running.
It can't be a muni Spur. A muni Spur. It's like Spanish or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we could do that or not. I'm unsure. I'd have to look.
You do a
into
liquor
some
store.
rules. Correct.
All right,
I've just never heard of a Muni Railroad.
A Muni Spur?
Not, like I said,
It'll
not
be a
that it's
Spur
possible.
HOA or something.
A Spur lay?
A Spur HOA.
HOA. Well, I think we got enough for John to jump on this anyway, just ask around and... All good with that? Railroad Spur discussion is closed. Review applications for EDA, process for EDA, number 7.
So, EDA chair, members of the EDA, we have 0 applicants for the EDA currently. It was closed a week and a half ago or so. I'm trying to get prepared for this meeting. We had 0 applicants, so I'm unsure what we want to do as the EDA with Commissioner Berge's resignation as of December 31st. We do not have to have anybody, so reading the bylaws, we have to consist of at least 5, if not more than 7 members. So we do not have to have another individual on the EDA. We can run with 6 people. It does create a potential issue in the future if we have 6 members with voting, but I'm not saying we couldn't.
At that point, doesn't the president have a
Doesn't the chair
1.5 power?
decide?
Correct. Yep.
Well, I need some time.
Yeah,
To
like I
fill
said,
the
so
spot.
my comment is, we have nobody currently for applications. Do we want to keep it open, as in just kind of run it until it's filled? Do we want to have another individual member, or do we want to just run it with 6?
I'm okay with the 7. And we need a little more time.
So we either need one of 2 motions, either continue to go and accept applications until filled, so we'll keep posting for it, or the other motion would be just to make it 6 and just say, we're not going to have another member on the EDA currently.
I'll make a motion to keep the posting active.
Okay.
We have a motion, have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Wonderful. We'll keep posting that, like I said, you see it on the website.
All right. 7.5, legal counsel.
Yes. So discussion of legal counsel. This was brought up by Chair Hutner, so I'm going to hand over the reins to him, and he can run with it.
Got to burn my saddle after the last deal. We shouldn't be relying on general counsel for a city to do specialty legals for a city, even though they did their best, but we were down that rabbit hole, and it could have been a very expensive wrong rabbit hole. We already lost money based upon this. I feel as an EDA, we have the ability and the rights to hire whom we need and to do our job, and one of those should be a specific legal counsel that gives us per diem. We pay them as we need them. They're not a retainer now, so don't go sideways on that. That we hire them to look into certain things that we need, like purchasing and selling property. And I believe that we should have somebody a little more closer to the chest than just general counsel.
Maybe it's someone that, an attorney that their specialty is
Specifically, yes.
is real estate and land.
Yep.
So in other words, you're saying whatever issue comes up, then you go and search for that counsel.
Yeah.
As an overflow secondary, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
we can do that now according to our bylaws. We don't need anything to do that other than just do it. Correct?
To get a legal counsel.
Yeah. Because if we can hire, it says right here, we can hire anybody we want to at any point in time, but I want to bring it up to everybody so that, look, even though we can depend on general counsel, had we continued with their advice, we would have been in the triangle at a whole lot more loss to this city. And our job as an EDA is to create funds, flourish, and make sure everything grows. And that's not growing when you start handing over property at 0 number.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a budget. Currently, there is no budget for the EDA set, which goes back to David's point or Commissioner Sean's point, if we don't have a budget established. So that would be how you would establish that power to be able to hire a legal counsel. We don't technically have a budget this year, so I would think, I don't know if we'd be able to hire one without the council approval. That's what I'm trying to figure
My
out.
question is, if we reached out to a private legal counsel and we get an opinion on something relative to real estate or whatever, how then is that opinion rationalized with general counsel? Because I got a feeling that it's not going to just be, okay, the EDA hired this counsel, they have an opinion, and the city council's fine with that, and the city's fine with that. And I just want to understand how that would even work.
you're going to pay twice for two different attorneys. Because the EDA is going to hire their own attorney for, whatever opinions you want, and then that's going to be checked by the city attorney.
It's going to be set by the city attorney?
Checked.
Reviewed.
So if the,
Other way around. We're going to let them do their general counsel, and we're going to make sure that we're going to back them up with the right intel. That's what I see.
Okay. So, I think the problem is, or I'm going to say probably the solution is getting alternative opinions from the same, the city attorney that we have, it's a larger company. They have many attorneys. And so it's probably more of an issue on an internal review on their part rather than hiring a separate attorney or a separate law firm.
Okay. I'm missing it here.
What?
His suggestion is use
Well,
the
hold on.
overall
Yeah,
law firm.
I don't see a need to hire another law firm, I guess. It's more of having maybe it's more attorneys review under the same firm. It's, you guys are going to have your same opinion.
Under the same firm?
Yes.
Negative. We're going to do a whole different company.
Okay.
Well, I would absolutely not have the same firm involved. Why would you pick the same firm?
The bylaws mention and say that the EDA may use the services of the city attorney or hire a general counsel for its legal needs.
Okay.
So the city attorney or general counsel, as determined by the EDA, is its chief legal advisor. So if the EDA does go with a separate attorney, we would not use the city attorney
At all?
At all.
So you couldn't
That's in the state
have more than one
statute,
opinion?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I said.
Correct. You would have no more than one opinion. You would only have one opinion.
How often does the EDA ping the legals?
Not too often unless it's for land sales or whatever. Unless there's something related to development or housing redevelopment that we're looking at doing, that's really when we only have it. The only reason we reached out this time was related to the
Right.
tax forfeiture property. Other than
Right.
that,
Then we didn't.
yeah. I've reached out to the attorney for anything EDA otherwise.
Does the main council, in their payment schedule, charge us to be accessible for EDA?
No.
So there's no extra fee for it?
We only pay per diem with our current city attorney.
And could we find a replacement for that per diem?
We can, yeah, if you want to get your own separate legal counsel, the EDA most certainly can. But again, you're not going to be able to consult with the general counsel. We're going to have to go for RFP for a separate legal counsel for the EDA.
Did that follow you, what you were saying?
I don't think it's needed. I would back with John that we don't really need it. I think that the current city attorney could have done internal review better with that process related to tax forfeiture, which is the point that you're making. But I don't think it's something that the city attorney did it purposefully or
I'm not saying
meaningly.
maliciously, not at all.
Yep, correct.
I'm saying they missed it, and the rest of the world would call that fired.
I miss a lot of things. You can call me fired then too. So,
That's a pretty big piece, because even Vice President, you like that?
Yeah.
Vice President Sean says, look, if we do this, we're going to set a precedence. And then as soon as it went to council, it set that precedence, because some council members were saying, hey, we can't make money on this. It set the precedence, exactly what he said.
correct. Yep, I do not disagree. Any action ever made by a city council sets precedent, no matter what. As if it's never happened before, it sets a precedent, because everyone will look back and say that's what happened.
On wrong intel.
On wrong intel, and it's happened many, many times in the city overall. It's not saying this legal counsel that we have currently with Campbell Knutson did anything wrong purposefully, like I said, or maliciously. We've had other bad, I will say, legal counsel advice in the past, and that is also still haunting us today. There are some of those things that are out there that we can't do anything about because of poor legal practices in the past. So there's always a precedent set, unfortunately, no matter what happens.
So within this law firm that the city uses now, you said
Yes.
there's multiple attorneys?
Yeah, we
Correct?
currently
Oh, yeah.
have one designated attorney, but they have
yeah.
Do they have other attorneys with specialties? Like, do they have
I'm sure they do.
do they have another attorney that their specialty is real estate and land?
Do you know
One
this
would
firm?
certainly think so.
Vaguely familiar. I've not worked with them before Dayton. But it's a larger firm. It's not it's not a big firm, but it's large enough. There are several attorneys.
200 up employees, 500 under?
I wouldn't go that far. But.
Oh, really?
Is it worthwhile to ask that question? Do you have an attorney that has this specialty?
So in other
Sure.
words, you should put a list of items that you want to ask and ask them all at one time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do you have, because the error here is that we used the individual attorney's advice and it wasn't cleared through the whole company.
Right.
I
And
mean,
maybe
to
real
me,
estate wasn't her
Why wouldn't you go
specialty.
back to the firm themselves and say how, this was an error that we think is a significant error. And how are you planning to avoid this type of
Future.
error in the future as our law firm? Otherwise, you need a new law firm. I mean, if I were in business, that's how, if I were running a business and my law firm screwed up, I'd be holding
And they have
them
errors and omissions for this
to
too.
point,
So if anything, we should have pinged their E&Os just off the loss savings of Levine Street. Because we didn't get, and what happens if it went to the Triangle and we got a $3 million piece of property? We sell for 1.2, whatever the zero number is. See how crazy that is?
Well, sure, but I think we need to deal with what actually happened, not what could happen.
Right.
All right, and for me, I don't think it's a one and done deal. Okay, we got overly conservative advice on this. We didn't get steered into an illegal path.
No,
I
not at
mean,
all.
It was overly conservative, which in this case cost a little bit of money, but looking forward, it could have been significant. So, do we throw it out and start over? I think that's going to be a bigger expense to the EDA than what we're realizing, because I don't think we get another law firm without some kind of ongoing retainer. Otherwise, you don't get to pick up the phone and say, hey, Bill and company, we got this complicated legal question we'd like you to answer. They might pick it up, but they're going to want some kind of an agreement. And we want to be able to do things kind of as they come up, right? We have a question, we want to have somebody to go to. I think you establish that relationship, just like the city does for the general counsel. We pay a monthly fee, and then we pay over and above that for
Is that how we pay
Special.
counsel?
We currently do not. We just use
No,
them
we pay
enough
per diem.
that
You just said that.
we have enough. We pay them enough or have them enough times that we're using them to review things that, DAs and things that are coming through every single month that we don't have to pay that retainer because we pay them so much per diem, as in per
Right,
hour.
but that would be their minimum.
Correct, yeah, exactly. I am assuming if we didn't have anything from legal counsel for a month, we would probably have a minimum
So
charge.
today, we've got nothing on the agenda that we would need to
Nope.
get legal advice, so
Correct.
we would be paying that retainer, and that's what I think it would look like.
Yep.
And so we've got this ongoing expense, and are we getting enough value from it? I mean, I think calling them out on the overly conservative advice that they gave us is fair game, and saying, when this kind of question comes up, who else in the office handles this kind of stuff on an ongoing basis, and that's what we want to work with for that particular topic. But it seems like we're creating something that we only occasionally need based on one, well, you'll call it a mistake, and so I'll say that, based on one mistake.
I would say it's an honest mistake. Again, like everybody says, there was nothing malicious. I absolutely do not believe that at all. But it still was a mistake, and that would have steered us into some muddy waters. So, do we want to go with the same firm again, or do we want to find a firm? And if we do it per diem, if you were a 100 to 500 nationwide law firm, and you want to get your fingers in the data somehow, you're going to do what it takes to get through that door. And if it means you call us when you need us and you pay by the hour, nobody wouldn't take that.
I think one of
Yeah,
the
but the main question is, like Dave said, are you willing to pay $50,000 a year and then maybe never use them?
They ain't going to do that. We're talking about different things, Scott.
Okay.
We're not talking about paying them anything until we need them.
Well, I don't think you're going to get anybody to.
We're doing that now, Scott.
Well, that's only because we use them.
Yeah, it's
so
'cause
much.
you're
Only because
using
we
them.
use them so much. I do not remember their contract exactly, but I know that there's a
Probably a
minimum.
minimum.
If we didn't use them at all,
There's a floor.
There's a floor of you have to pay us this amount of dollars unless you have a per diem, which would be you're using our services every single.
So what's our answer? Do we use the same firm and say, hey, we want more than one eyes on this?
I personally think we maybe get a list of their attorneys and what their specialties are, and see if there's an attorney or two that real estate is their specialty.
That thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
looking at their website and.
We don't need a tax attorney to handle real estate.
Right. But we do need an attorney with some good intel so we don't put ourselves in this spot again.
Yeah. Like I said,
Well-
what the EDA could do is we request a second opinion from a different attorney than our current city attorney. You can reach out to the city attorney and have them do the work, and then get another attorney with, and like I said, John and I can go back and look at their website or whatever and see who their real estate attorney or specialty attorney is for whatever that purpose is. This
Yeah.
company is not small. They do multiple cities, so it isn't like this is the only city that they handle.
Yeah, they're licensed in multiple cities. You
I
said they're
think
under
that's
100?
important, is what's the process to challenge an opinion that you get? Because, I mean, it was, if I recall, you challenged that opinion,
Several times.
and it was that wasn't necessarily heard or observed or however there was nothing done by the law firm to say,
Yep.
hey, this opinion's being challenged, we're going to go review it or whatever.
Yep.
And I think that's a process that you've got to have in place, that, you know, when you get an opinion back, and because I know there's other things that I've talked with the mayor and other things, like you guys get opinions on things and don't necessarily agree, whether it's Met Council or whoever, and then how do you challenge that, you know? I mean,
And
because the opinions aren't always correct, as we're
Well, they're
finding
opinions.
out.
And in the same firm, do you have one guy who's not going to bounce against the first guy's opinions?
Yeah, I mean, that's a concern.
You got to work that guy.
I think there's a concern when it's within the same firm that
Sure.
you get groupthink, but, you know,
If I draft a transmission on the floor and all of a sudden you want to go to my guy and say, hey, I'm trying to drop, you know, we're not going to do that. We're going to be, hey, you shut up. But if you got someone else on the outside and say, he dropped your tranny, then then there's room for interpolation and saying, you screwed up.
But on the legal side of it, the key word is opinion. I mean, I've
Right.
been involved in a situation in real estate like this, and the key word is it's
Opinion.
that person's opinion. So it could be John's opinion on something. It doesn't mean he's right or wrong.
You have
So
a legal
it's hard
degree?
to go after someone for errors and omissions when they're just giving their opinion.
That's what they have E&O for.
well, and I don't think it's going after anybody, because I think you're right. Any law firm never tells you this is what you should do. It's an opinion.
Yeah.
This is our opinion.
No,
You have to act on
Exactly.
whether and that's how they keep themselves from getting sued.
Right.
That's a very good point. So when you go to court, you have two legal opinions that are arguing each other, and you have the judge that serves as
Right.
referee that determines who's right and who's wrong. You get in bigger courts where you have multiple judges, you're going to have multiple opinions, and so you still have the majority that determines who's right and wrong.
Yeah, our city attorney is supposed to give us the conservative advice, which is going back to David's point, is that they're supposed to give us conservative advice in order for us to not get sued, as in what's the best chance for us not to get sued.
To not maybe get sued. If we're going to work on precog here, to not maybe get sued, to maybe, so we're going to work into the future, to not maybe? Well, right now, we got it right now in our face.
Their opinion is to give us the most conservative advice so that we do not get sued. That is what their job is as a legal attorney. Do you have to follow the legal advice? No. It is not required that you follow the legal advice. But if you go against the legal advice, then we have to have them represent us in court. So they're going to have to follow your opinion after you did not follow their opinion. Just that's how that works. I mean, like I said, you can go against a legal opinion any day you want to, which is going to what Jack's point is that they give you their opinion, and then you can then decide against it. So what we need to know is, do you want to have a separate legal counsel, or do you want to continue to have the legal counsel and ask some sort of questions to the legal counsel that we have currently as the city attorney, or request a different one, or do we want to go through a whole RFP process and select a separate legal counsel, which is totally different than our current legal counsel that we have?
So I have a little, I guess, listening to everything and with the legal counsel and their opinions, and ultimately what happened last time, and I'm not throwing city council under the bus, I'm not saying anything bad about city council, but ultimately what happened last time is the EDA voted and said we need more time. City council voted and said no.
Right.
So it
Based upon
based upon the attorney, right?
information that was,
So, and again, I'm not saying anything was done wrong or
Conservative.
right, but it necessarily wasn't, I mean, yes, the attorney maybe gave the wrong opinion, but ultimately city council said, well, we're going to just follow that opinion. Again, I'm not saying anything was done wrong. I'm just
Blindly.
saying how it went. At one point, there was a discussion of, I think we talked about it, separate, I don't know if we can or not, separate EDA from city council?
How are they attached?
Well, the decision.
Well, because they just,
Process.
city council overrode our,
Because the only reason they overrode it, because their name was on the property. If our name was on the property, they couldn't have overrode it.
okay.
Correct.
But so you're on the Levy Street property is what you're talking about?
Yeah,
And the reason that got overrode has been beat to death for a couple
true.
of years.
Right,
I mean,
I agree.
That's
10
why
years.
that got overrode. This attorney thing is a way more important thing than that.
Yes,
I mean, the triangle is, I think the deal is part of Dayton's issues is its lack of experience. That's the biggest thing. And I think there was a very valuable lesson learned here, that there just wasn't enough investigation on this, and we didn't ask the second question. Can we go to your office and get some more advice from somebody else? And I think that's where you get the list of what does this legal company, what do these attorneys, what's their field? I think that's the most important issue here.
Hey, but Scott, we jumped to high heavens and told them this is legal. We had this conversation, me and you, with
I
the
know.
same gal.
Yeah.
We couldn't have screamed any louder, and the council still went by the recommendations, which I get, that's their council. Until they heard the recording. Things changed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Well, and we were gonna learn a lot on Lee Street.
Yeah,
It was our get our feet wet.
yeah. That whole Levy
Now we know
Street,
some real numbers and some real things, so that if the triangle does move and it doesn't go to something else, oh yeah, it certainly makes sense. But we're not going to do it with our butts handed to us. We're going to do this with some profits involved.
Sure. Yeah, so if the EDA legal counsel if we were to have a separate legal counsel, like EDA wants, we would then have the process go, we'd get legal advice from the EDA legal counsel, and then it will go to city council, and that city council legal counsel will then review that attorney's legal counsel review, as in, all the information will then go to that legal counsel as a second opinion. So the city council has the final say. Again, and we'll use the triangle as the example, that is in the city of Dayton's name, not the EDA's name,
Yep.
that's the city of Dayton's name.
Yep.
So they are going to use, and they can go with EDA's legal counsel advice if you had a separate one, or they can go with their legal counsel advice. And I don't know, as a city, I don't have that, authority or process. But
If we
just want to
could-
let you know the process if we were to have a separate legal counsel and how that would work.
If we put out an RFP, can we put an RFP out for per diem services, not set a floor?
Yeah, we can ask for anything, but we have to get a response back, but doesn't mean that they won't, yeah.
We at least try.
Yep.
So I'm looking for a motion now to say that we do a RFP for a legal counsel that has a no floor minimum, and that we can use in those situations, so it doesn't cost us nothing along the way. And we have the benefit of having two counsels or two firms that are going to say, hey, I looked at this, but then you're going to get the trifecta, and you're going to say which one's right, if they have opposing opinions. So I think in common sense, we should have our own. Is there a motion?
I think you could go, and I think you could word that different. I mean, I cannot believe that you're going to get a law firm that's going to say, yeah, if you want to call me, without having some sort of a retainer there. I mean, I'd be shocked if there was such a thing.
Let's find out.
Well, there's that guy.
Doesn't
Phone
hurt.
calls are free.
Doesn't hurt.
Phone calls
Yeah,
are
you'll
free.
get that beginning guy that
plays the
doesn't.
guitar and stuff. He's available,
Who?
That's running all those ads.
I mean, if another incident comes up, why is it not
Injury,
simple
yeah.
for the EDA? If another incident comes up, why is it not simple to say, okay, here, this issue here, we have very little expertise in this area. Let's go get some counsel on this. I
we
certainly
still have
wouldn't.
our current law firm that we can just consult with a different attorney.
So Campbell Knutson's has 10 attorneys listed in economic development.
Yeah, and I mean, you want someone.
How about we just have a
specifically
motion to
in
go
that.
ask the question?
That's fine.
Was that a
That's,
motion?
Go ahead. I'll make the motion
Never
that you
hurts to
ask the
ask
questions.
questions, right?
Never hurts to ask.
Do we have a second?
Okay, so the motion is to send out an RFP for legal counsel for a per diem process for the EDA of Dayton.
Correct.
So I want to make sure I understood the motion.
That's what he just said, yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
Right,
right.
it's gonna come up just like the 7th EDA member, I'm sure, but we'll see.
You have little faith, brother.
Yeah.
Okay, got a motion
Well,
by Scott.
I'll second.
I mean, attorneys they want a retainer, and this is
I
gonna
know
cost
they
you
do.
20,
I know
30
they do,
grand.
but some guys they get it.
Yeah.
We're a small city. All in favor?
I-
All opposed? Motion carries.
I have a question though, just related. How has the error that happened been memorialized in the city? Like, I mean, is it now official that we can sell property for a profit?
It is.
And how was that memorialized? I mean, because we're all gone a year from now or 2 years from now, the same discussion could happen again. And I'm just like, has somewhere in the city council or in the ordinance say, you can do this. We've reviewed this and you can do this.
A roadmap?
I mean, I don't know, because it's one of these things that is pretty nebulous, and I guarantee you 6 months down the road, you're going to have other attorneys that have other opinions, and you'll be having the same discussion all over again. And it's just really almost, are you going to take the conservative opinion, or are you going to take a more aggressive?
If there's nothing aggressive about making money. That's not aggressive.
Well, I'm not saying it's only aggressive in that there may be more legal risk. That's the only aggressiveness to it.
Yeah, there is nothing memorialized currently, more or less just internal knowledge of, current council members, current EDA members, city administrator, the current legal counsel, so I think there's enough current individuals along the way that
No legacy.
would memorialize it. Technically, it's not memorialized until the next action happens, basically. Once the next action happens, then, again, that precedent is set for the next process.
Okay.
And until that happens, we don't have a precedent or a memorialization until that officially happens. But your question is valid, of how do we keep this going? Well, we don't until
Well,
the next
I only
process
say
happens.
it because on this Levy property, we went, even earlier on, years before, we went back and forth on this profit, nonprofit thing, like 3 or 4 times. One time it was okay, then it wasn't, then it was, then it wasn't. And
By the luck of Jesus, that's where we found that email. That's when I called him up and had that conversation.
Yeah.
The same gal me and him talked to years before.
Yeah,
So,
back in 2020.
20, was it? Yeah.
Okay.
anyway, it's just
All right.
a point, but if there's not a way to do it, then.
Are we done with 7.5? Yep. Let's go to 8.0 staff updates.
I'm not aware of any that I haven't discussed before for either industrial, commercial, or residential. Do you have any, John?
Off of 113th, we have the concept plan for Spaniard.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah.
on 113th Avenue, there is a concept plan that came through City Council. I can pull it up on the screen here.
I don't think it's gone through council yet.
No, I don't
No.
think so.
No,
So
went to
that
planning.
would
Sorry,
come-
Planning Commission. I apologize. The Parkway neighborhood, which you guys have seen in the past, is moving forward. That had a preliminary plat and a bunch of other things with it.
Tabled.
It's been tabled,
Yeah.
yep, but that is continuing to move forward. You guys have already seen that one. That is the other side of 94, with the larger apartment complex.
Yep.
That's nothing new. Why am I missing?
But neither of those are EDA territory, if I remember right.
Nope. The Spaniard one is though. Do you know what that's? You know what it's called?
I think we just called Spaniard a concept plan, but
There we go. Maybe it's this one here.
Yep.
Not that one.
yep, no, that's it.
That's it. It wasn't
Yep.
this one.
That's part of it, but the map you had
Was
earlier
that
is
the only
better.
one? I think it was this one here. There we go. All right. Yeah, so this is it right here. So, we received an application for basically, I'm going to call it a redevelopment of
It's
this
a
property here.
redevelopment?
Yeah, basically a redevelopment.
That's HRA.
Yep, correct. Yep. So it's also EDA as well. It's a commercial business. Tom Spanier owns this property along with the property to the left here as well. So he owns two properties, these two buildings here, and this smaller building. He's currently leasing a lot of these out to, Matt's Lawn Service and a couple of trucking companies. What he's looking to do then this morning, or this process, is he's looking to redevelop the east, his east lot into a more usable property. The road, we are looking to create a road access from Dayton Parkway to connect onto 113th Avenue. We had either two connection points, either the red one, which you can see here. I'll try to zoom in so you can see it. The red one coming off the Dayton Parkway. Currently, the roundabout is listed there, and you can access this, so you can drive down it. There is basically a stub here. Either do the red access, which goes down to 113th here, or the blue access, which goes down to 113th here. Both of them through the Spanier property. The blue access was determined by engineering to be more efficient, also with the DDL property being right here as the connection point as well. It also makes more sense for connecting south into the potential Stensley property. And so there is a roadway that will be needed to be accessed to the Dayton Parkway. The reason for that is because 113th Avenue on the far west boundary of that at the Dayton Parkway where it exists currently will be severed at some time by the county. At some point, the space between those two access points, 113th and the 81, is too close for stacking of trucks once the Cubes building starts up and running. At some determined point of whenever that is, we're just going to put that in air quotes for currently because we don't know when that is. 113th will be severed on this west boundary connecting to the Dayton Parkway, which will mean that another access point has to be made. This will secure that access point being made onto the Parkway, so that all businesses on 113th Avenue will have a connection point onto the Parkway as well. The blue one is the one that's going to see in the concept plan. So what they are looking to do is, correct me if I'm wrong, John, put a business, basically a building on the north side here of the property, with a parking lot on the south a little bit here through the connection point of that new access. Either this concept or this one. Do you remember which one he was looking for?
It's the same one. The drawing on the left is just zoomed in.
Zoom in.
Okay, this one on the left is zoomed in. This one on the right is the full process. So in the middle, essentially 2 bays, then 3 bays, then 4 bays, and then an office building. What he's looking to do is potentially have Matt's Lawn Service essentially take over that building essentially once they...
Will there be spaces open there?
There will be spaces for rent there. That is what the idea is.
Can we get a list of that if this moves forward?
Yes. Yep.
Should we have a list of available properties, rentals in Dayton?
We do not.
We do not currently.
Shouldn't we have one?
We try to. We try to keep up with businesses as they come through, but...
Is this like the emails you send out to the council, and it's specifically to the council? Could we get a list of here's what's available in the world?
If we have anything from the EDA that comes up, we most certainly can, yeah.
Because I get guys constantly asking me about spaces.
Yep. Currently, we don't have, as far as I'm aware, we don't have hardly any. Maybe one business is looking to rent. Currently that I'm aware of. And I don't know how they advertise those things. I'm unsure because they never contact the city at all. The only reason I hear about it is through the grapevine of this person to this person to this person, and then it's like, oh, well, I asked this person and they have a space for rent. But it's not ever, they don't ever reach out to the city and go, hey, I got a space for rent. If you know anybody.
They don't want the city in their business.
Yeah.
So what would you classify this as? Is like more of a industrial?
Yes.
Same thing as what's there now.
Currently the
It's
same.
industrial.
Is it B3?
Just industrial?
It's industrial.
Oh, I-1?
Yeah.
Okay. So literally there's 24/7 working.
Yeah, they're trucking in and out and...
It could be. So
yeah.
I guess one question that came up at the Planning Commission is, I believe in the comp plan this is guided for a business park, not industrial.
Correct.
And so I guess the question is by encouraging redevelopment from industrial to industrial, it's not furthering the comprehensive plan. So if the comprehensive plan is to wipe everything clean and start out fresh again, this doesn't do it. And is that what the council wants to do or the EDA wants to do?
Let's get that one in our email to us.
You want this one? Yep, I can send it to you. I didn't even think about this one when I sent out the EDA.
Because that's a real thing for guys I know. And I could rent both those out right now.
Yep, yeah, like I said, I don't know if he has potential investors or people that want to.
If he knows there's people in the wind,
say,
and they're signing
that the
contracts,
renters or.
he'll build it.
Yeah, he is. Like I said, we are moving forward with this process, and he's looking to build. Essentially, it is a good redevelopment of that property because it is kind of a dilapidated property, as it doesn't look as nice as it probably could be. With this new development, it would look a lot nicer and cleaner as part of 113th Avenue, which is good. But again, I would have to agree with the Planning Commission's point is that we aren't. That is business park. I'm unsure what business park really means, as in what it looks like.
Any tax incentives to push him over to build it? It's
He doesn't
HRA?
need any.
No?
How realistic is it to switch from industrial to business park? I mean, it's more wipe the slate clean kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of business, the new construction that's happening now, so you have, $100,000 spec buildings versus 10,000 square foot buildings. So,
Right.
If to start over, you're buying these smaller industrial buildings, you're paying for buildings that have no value to the buyer, but they have value to the seller. So the more small businesses or small buildings that we allow to be built, the harder it is to obtain the business park model. So what is the future of that area?
Yeah, and is it all of that area, or is it a part of that area?
It's that whole area, but it's not very big. It's 113th is quarter mile long or.
Yep, about that.
Okay.
Business park will be more attractive than the industrial for sure.
Well, yeah, I'd agree, but is it realistic to switch it from industrial to business park or not? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see this
me,
as
this is
fully
more-
industrial, but I definitely don't see it as this business park either. So business park to me, and again, everyone's opinion and different views is different, but business park has got to be like a strip mall kind of thing with like a legal and a dental office and kind of those businesses that would be office kind of spaces.
That's such a big dentist with a 14-foot door.
Yeah, that's not, like I said, this is more industrial than it is business park.
Right. And it's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 if you use the office instead of second. A little something I know about is 14-foot doors.
Is-
Okay, we're moving on? You done, Jack?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that, we don't have any other current applications or anything
No
else.
residential applications?
I don't know what we.
Besides the Parkway neighborhood, but.
Okay. So we got 8,
Yep.
8A and B, 8.5, sales broker.
Yep.
Now, one thing that we learned in that conversation from the Hennepin County gal is that Hennepin County always uses a broker to sell their properties. We set an RFP, they come see us, you do your thing, you do what you do. But with a broker, it adds some anonymity to the city's agenda, and that's why I think they did that. They always use a broker when they sell a piece of property. Is this something we want to engage?
I don't think it's wrong, or particularly if we're looking to acquire property, going to somebody as the city always raises the price. And so that clearly is something that should be done on any acquisitions on the selling side. Maybe it makes sense too for one thing, for expertise that we may or may not have.
Yep.
So I don't have a problem with it.
I think we should motion an RFP to acquire a legal broker, a broker with residential, commercial, to serve the EDA. And per diem, works on a per diem thing, so we're not going to be paying these guys to sit in.
Well, just so you know, a broker, it's commission.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So there is no hourly, they
which
get
is-
a
yep.
percentage of the
sale.
Okay.
Which is fine.
So do we have a motion?
Sure, yeah, I'll motion.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes for a broker.
Would it be beneficial, I happen to know of a realtor broker that might be a perfect fit for something like this, beneficial to have them come in just to,
Well, let's put the RFP out there and see
Yeah.
who responds to it. That way there's no optics fuzzy on this.
okay.
If you have any contacts or anybody that you want to have, we can most certainly send the RFP out.
Send everybody in.
Yep, I'll send it out to everybody, and like I said, I'll do the main ones that I'm aware of the big ones around here. But
Okay.
if you have anybody
I
specific,
would
please let
certainly
me know.
make everybody aware of it, and if they want to be a part of it, they can send in their.
They got to reply back to the RFP, no different than anybody else, and then the EDA will make a recommendation. My
So-
guess is it probably comes back on the March. By the time it gets through, you'll probably get 3 weeks to post it and. people
Send it
respond
to us so
stuff.
we can review it before it goes out.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Well, the RFP?
Yeah. Are we done?
We have.
8.6, I forgot to add this, was on that email I sent to you. I sat with Lieutenant Burstead about some cameras, some they're called LPRs, and as a business function of this city, part of our EDA's bylaws, or our mission statement, is to preserve and protect and to do what's right for the city of Dayton. And it's a new system that's developed by a company out east that makes a camera system that has egress and egress into a LPR, license plate readers. The point of this camera system is to say, okay, if we get this one specific vehicle that's constantly moving back and forth with the same license plate, it creates a red flag in the software, which only the police can obtain. We can do this as a business, which I'm planning on doing, but we cannot do it anything to do with the LPR reader system that has the Amber Alert, which they will have access to, an LPR system that has a felony license plate. There's a lot of things that the police can have with this too. And if we were to put these at the input and output of our business areas, which this is on hold for me as far as what Burstead wants to check her out and see what's going on, that these camera systems are an expensive little deal. But if something with that license plate goes within that reading of that LPR, the police are instantly notified, and now they can be put on scene without having to be called. They are called. And as a business in and out, I think, we're getting more and more people in the city. We're getting more and more things that we don't want, like undesirables. And if these cars are constantly coming in and out of here, we should probably know about it, especially if they're commissioned in felonies.
So I'm not trying to follow where you're going with it.
Louder.
I'm trying to follow where you're going with it. So are you suggesting that businesses should buy this system?
Well,
Or are you
this
saying
business is
that-
going to buy a system.
Yeah.
But I think that as far as the city goes, is it the city's responsibility, or not responsibility, but wish to protect their businesses by simply having this camera, because they have different rates for municipalities than they do end users.
So what are you saying? The
That-
city should buy a system for all the businesses?
No. It goes on, you got two systems, one on road coming in and one road coming out. It's not like you're buying a bunch of systems. It just means that license plate has been seen in the area, and there's something with it. Therefore, our police are on staff, and they can do their job.
Oh, so where would they be put though?
Well, that's phase two. Phase one is, what do you guys thought about the concept of that, of this whole deal? I personally see a great use for it.
Yeah, so as this is not an agenda item that we added at the beginning with the approval of the agenda, we can have just discussion, we can't have any motions or
Action
anything
on
made
it.
of it, just general discussion about.
That's all it is right now.
Yep, correct, yep. Just want to make sure everyone knows that no motion, no seconds, this isn't like official action. This is more or less, it's not on the agenda, but it's a discussion point, and don't disagree, we can have any discussion points we need to.
I think it's I'm a firm believer
My
that
thing would be just like, what's the return on investment, like,
tough to quantify that when we're getting broken into.
well, I don't know, I mean, if we had a lot of break-ins and
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
You will.
I got nothing nobody wants.
Hey, they want all
I
that
mean,
free
I've
jerky
had
and
in the
shit.
past, but,
The point is, it is a tool. I don't think it's a Big Brother thing. I think our mayor will disagree with that. He'll see that as Big Brother. And I get his point. But this system is incredible. It's incredible. It's self-powered. It can be deployed anywhere. It can stay in a system that, as long as they don't get knocked over, it's fully operational. It only takes snap. If you want to look for a guy who stole the trailer, you put in the search word trailer, and this camera system will only pull up the trailers that have been stolen. It's that
They
comprehensive.
pull up the trailers that have been stolen?
Yes.
What's too late then?
Not if you had a license plate on the truck pulling it. You used to have something. It's a breadcrumb. And when they broke into my shop and stole my generators, we had one breadcrumb to go on, and it was a license plate off of a different vehicle that wasn't even close to the one that we were viewing. And Detective Burstead found this place, where it went, where it was ripped off in that area. They used the license plates at night, and then come morning they switch them back, so no one's the wiser. So all of a sudden he's in the right area, but he's got the wrong vehicle. That's huge. That breadcrumb led him to, in my opinion, found that guy, and now they've got legals in place. Hennepin County's got to get involved, and blah, 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 blah. So, as an EDA function, we say to our businesses, look, you ain't playing in our town.
So how much is this camera system?
For me, it's $3,500 a year. For a municipality, I don't know. Burstead and the corporate guy are going to use it. I do know that Richfield had them in. I know that there's a number of cities that are now deploying these. So you want to do wrong stuff in our city? We're going to see where you are and who you are. Great tool for PD, and I'm fully for it.
So it's $3,500 per year per camera.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the cost.
Well, you pay every year. I mean, you don't own the camera.
Okay.
You're licensed, but your intel is instant and it's active and it's right now. Huge, huge thing. I'm compassionate about it because I've paid too many guys to come and break in my shit. And that's getting old. So, I wanted you guys is on your radar if this is a function of EDA saying, look, we want to preserve your business. We want to make sure, but we'll need our funding back.
So then the question would be to have Paul maybe do some research and find out, can you put 4 or 5 cameras in the city for $20,000-$30,000?
I do believe Burstead's working on that.
Yeah.
So if he comes up with a reasonable solution, again, is this an EDA function or just a main council function? I mean, our mission statement is pretty clear.
So right now this sounds like an omelet, and let's wait until it's an actual entree.
Yeah, oh, for sure. For sure. But again, that's why it was a good discussion, not an agenda item.
Okay.
What about putting together like a
Presentation?
presentation
It's already happening.
for the businesses, right? And let them, maybe we just offer them all this information and say, here's what this system, because you're going through the city, you're going to get a better price. And we're kind of the in-between person.
Well, as an end user, we can see certain things, but we can't see anything to do with NCIC. We won't be able to see any BCID searches. We won't see anything like that the PD sees. We won't have access to it because it's police department only, agency only.
Okay.
They get to see the whole tomato. We get to see, hey, who took my, or did a trailer drive by? Did a red trailer drive by my property ever within this 24-hour period? And it will pull that up because it sees color at night. This thing's incredible. A motorcycle with saddlebags went past my deal. Did it go back? And it'll pull it up and narrow it down. So the filtering is incredible. And if I didn't sit through the procedure with me and Burstead had to sit down with a demonstration, wow. Bicycle, a girl pushing a stroller. This AI, each camera has an AI system in it, and it knows exactly what it's doing.
Okay.
So, wanted you to hear that.
Yeah, worth learning more about for sure.
Right.
And I guess I'd, like to understand the whole picture, and that'll come, but because it sounds like you need them at the points of impact. You've got some break-ins, so there's one, all right, in your neighborhood, but where else? Do we need one by the liquor store? Do we need one by Graco? Do we need one
Anywhere in and out of the city would make sense to me. So we need 3 basic systems. I'm going to have my own, which I can also let the PD have access to, but they're also going to check into the legals of data sharing, privilege acts, whatever he was talking about. So if he can't use any of my data, then all I can do is what I do with my cameras now. Here, this vehicle went here, pass, blah. So that's already been a thing. Again, not to spin up more and spend more on the city dime, but there ain't too many things I believe in with the camera that if I didn't see it myself. And I have some pretty good cameras. There's some really good cameras. but I don't have AI cameras. So, heads up on that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, with the break-ins, were you ever able to get any resolution on it?
Oh, yeah, we found the guy.
And then what?
Same pants he's wearing, I mean, this guy's, but I can't say anymore, because we're in
Because I've
session.
had, I mean, the only reason I asked, because I've had some experience in the past, and we knew who it was, we caught him, but nothing's
He's buried
happening.
out back.
Nothing's happening.
Right.
I mean, the county attorney down in Minneapolis isn't gonna, they're not gonna prosecute a single mother that has children, for theft.
Yeah,
or
but you'll know who
whatever.
she is when she comes back in next.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was saying the the resolution is unfortunately not very good.
But wouldn't you rather know than not?
Yeah, and I mean, I have cameras like you have cameras, and that's how we caught them, and
Yeah.
yada yada. But
I have cameras.
yeah, I'm sure you have all kind of cameras. I'm sure you know.
I gotta put my flamethrower together. Do we want to adjourn? Anybody?
Let's adjourn.
I'll motion. Let's adjourn.
What's
We
that?
got a motion by David, second by
Jack.
Jack.
Come by later, you'll see
Aye.
the flame.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Gentlemen, have a good rest of your, until next time.
Hold on 1 second.